Good evening. Welcome to Grand Blanc Township's board meeting for Tuesday, November 11th. If we could all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Veterans Day and thank our veterans for their service. Do we have any veterans here this evening in our audience?
Please rise.
Do we have a veteran? If you could please rise if you're a veteran so we can recognize your service. Thank you to both of you, gentlemen. With that, I'm going to
Shall I call the roll,
ask
Mr.
Clerk
Supervisor?
Robertson to call the roll, please.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
Of course, I'm here. Treasurer Yancho?
Here.
Trustee Brown?
Here.
Trustee Fike?
Here.
Trustee Hugo?
Here.
Trustee White?
Here.
7 members present, a quorum.
Thank you. I would ask for approval of the agenda. However, I would like to amend the prepared agenda. Item 8B, board considering a zoning case. The applicant has asked that we delay this until next meeting due to them not being able to participate at this meeting. So barring any other changes,
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda
As amended.
as amended.
Support.
or by Ms. Hugo.
Motion by Yancho, supported by Hugo. Trustee White?
Yes.
Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Treasurer Yancho?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Fike?
Yes.
Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
7-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And now we will have public comment, and we ask everyone to fill out a public comment card if you would like to speak, just so we have your contact information so we can, so we can follow up. We don't need your address out there publicly, but would like to invite Stephanie Rossello to come to the microphone. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Rossello. I'm going to cry. And I live here in Grand Blanc Township. Tonight, as you discuss the fire department budget, I'm asking you to notice the shirt I'm wearing. It's red. I also wore this shirt 14 days ago at the last township meeting. I sat right there as well. And 31 days ago, I wore it at the funeral of my friend, Thelma Armstrong, because red was her favorite color. I wear it again in her honor today. Thelma was a member of my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. She died inside our church on September 28th. Her body burned in that fire. There wasn't enough of her left to bury. What happened that day is not just a headline. We lived it. Our church family is still living it. And because it happened once, it can happen again. This is a photo of Thelma, taken right here in our township at the community concert at the Ally Challenge. This is why I'm here tonight, and this is why what you do matters. As you consider the fire department budget, please remember that this is not just a spreadsheet. This is readiness. This is whether the people come home alive. Only one of the victims from our church had an open casket, Pat Howard, because of the fire. Craig Hayden did not, John Bond did not, and my friend Thelma had none. When you set this budget, you have a choice. Do we fund it just enough to say we meet an OSHA requirement, or do we invest in a department that is fully prepared with the staffing, training, and equipment needed to protect this community at the highest level? If you needed surgery, would you want your doctor working with the cheapest tools and bare minimum ability? Of course not. So are we providing adequate funding for the people who risk their lives to save ours? You have the opportunity and the obligation to make sure our fire department has everything they need to keep us safe, to keep you safe. I don't know what those numbers look like. I trust our chief and his staff do, and I yield to their discernment. On the morning of the shooting and fire, the Grand Blanc Township Fire and police departments, along with many surrounding departments, ran toward danger. They saved lives. They saved families in my congregation. We owe them more than the lowest acceptable budget. We owe this community more than good enough. So tonight I'm asking this board, Whatever it takes to keep our community safe, do it. Invest in training, invest in staffing, invest in equipment, and invest in preparedness. Because once tragedy strikes, there is no second chance to prepare. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other forms up here, so I guess we'll close public comment. And
Next item is item 5A, I believe, Mr. Supervisor?
I think we have somebody who wants to make public comment, possibly. If you just want to give us your name, that's fine.
Get on the internet.
Okay, is that Carrie Fritz?
Fritz.
Fritz? Okay.
All right. I'm going to keep this brief. I truly don't believe you guys are listening. I'm pretty sure you're not listening to anybody without the initials DL. It appears to me, as a citizen, that you guys have put Gent on probationary return because your plan is to quietly fire him when the community forgets. I hope this isn't the case. I hope he's reinstated in his full capacity immediately, seeing as that's what we are asking you for. If that is the plan, know that some of us aren't quiet and some of us don't forget. I'd also like you all to answer at some point about Dennis and his pay, his contract, and why our taxes are funding that entire situation but not our fire department. I'll be here every 2 weeks to speak and to listen, and I'll be calling all of you this week, and I look forward to hearing back from you.
Thank you. All right. Unless there's one more. Anna Matson.
Anna Matson, on 10/30/2025, I submitted a Freedom of Information Act request, and on 11/6, it was partially denied. I am here seeking an appeal for the decision to deny, quote, "all communication between Grand Blanc Township and Harbor Strategic Public Affairs since September 1st, 2025 to present day." Harbor Strategic is a public relations firm and is separate from the township's attorney. Harbor Strategic defines their work as, quote, "Michigan's PR and public affairs agency." They put their experience from tough legislative, political, and media battles to work for you. As such, Harbor Strategic does not fall under attorney-client privilege protections. Communications, contracts, invoices, proposals, and work product relating to a public relations firm engaged by a public body are public records subject to disclosure under Michigan FOIA. Michigan courts have consistently held that exemption claims must be narrowly construed, and the burden lies with the public body to justify any exemption. Therefore, I respectfully request that the township reverse its denial and provide the requested records, or if any portion are legitimately exempt, provide a detailed exemption log as required under FOIA, identifying the specific statutory exemptions applied to each withheld portion. Keep in mind, I did not receive appeal instructions within my FOIA denial, which is required under MCL 15.235, Section 5. It says a written notice denying a request for a public record in whole or in part is a public body's final determination to deny the request or portion of that request. The written notice must contain a full explanation of the requesting person's right to do either of the following: submit to the head of the public body a written appeal that specifically states the word appeal and identifies the reason or reasons for the reversal of the disclosure denial. Therefore, Grand Blanc Township is already in violation of the Freedom of Information Act. Now it is up to this board, not staff, to approve the appeal or deny the appeal. Keep in mind, I am very well versed in FOIA and have requested records from local municipalities, the state, and the federal government. When my town wrongfully denied my request, I sued them and they paid all of my court and attorney fees, as well as released the records. I hope we do not have to go there to get transparency from this governing body. I am here if you have questions.
Thank you. And now we will close public comment and go to our public hearing. The public hearing to take comment on an industrial facilities tax exemption for Grand Blanc Industrial Holdings LLC. Mr. Lehman, anything to add?
Yeah, all you're doing is open it up. If a public notice went out to all the taxing entities who could be impacted by if the board chose to grant the IFT exemption for Grand Blanc Industrial Holdings. So if anybody wants to comment on that, this is your opportunity. And then later on in your agenda, you'll have a resolution to consider in regards to that.
Okay. At that time, Danielle, you'd come up? Okay. Okay, we will open up the public hearing with regard to specifically the industrial facilities tax exemption. If anybody's here to speak specifically for that topic, we'd ask them to come forward at this time. Seeing that nobody is here to make comment with regard to the industrial facilities tax exemption for Grand Blanc Industrial Holdings, LLC, we will close the public comment and move on to approval of the consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Fike, support by Mr. Brown.
One moment, Mr. Supervisor. Five, all right. On the consent agenda, item 6A, motion by,
It's all of them is under six. Six A, B, C.
forgive me, yes, 6A, B, and C. Forgive me, Mr. Supervisor, the motion was moved by Fike?
Yes, supported by Brown.
Moved by Fike, supported by Brown. Okay. Trustee Hugo?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Fike?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Treasurer Yancho?
Yes.
7-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And now on to old business. Board will hear a presentation on fire department operations as part of our annual budget process. I've asked Assistant Superintendent Matt Kimmer just to put together a little bit of a historical timeline regarding the last 5 years since the city split from the township for fire services. I know that Chief Gent is, probably not familiar with all of the history, so Mr. Kimmer has gone through the fire department annual reports for the past 5 or 6 years and has put together a presentation showing where we've been and where we are currently. And then we'll follow with Chief Gent, his presentation. Board should have a printout of it as well at their places.
You want that up on the screen, Matt?
Yep, I'm gonna.
Melissa has the others.
All right, good evening. Okay. So we just want to take a walk through the history, fire department, based on the fire department annual reports, past budget numbers, take a walk through that from 2019 until present day, leading up to the budget presentation that you'll hear later on. So the goals tonight, again, we want to tell the story of the Grand Blanc Township Fire Department since 2019, demonstrate accountability and transparency, recognize our firefighters' dedication, and show how national standards guide our work here at Grand Blanc Township. The key events in 2019, at that time, the city and the township shared in a joint cost of service study that was completed at that time. The ultimate result of that was that the partnership, fire service agreement between the city and the township was dissolved at that time in order to accommodate the new city fire department. Grand Blanc Township's fire department moved from what was Station 1 downtown Grand Blanc to what is now Station 1 here at Township Hall, used to be Fire Station Number 2.
I've got a question.
Sure, yeah.
So what, I know the answer to this, but what precipitated the cost of service study, I believe, was that there was some discussion as to whether or not, I think the concern was that I think the city thought they were paying too much. And actually, we found that because we couldn't afford any capital expenditures, and we said, more money's got to be put into this thing. So we both agreed to a cost of service study, I believe. And that cost of service study showed that, what, $200,000 or more?
Yeah, at the time, NVT did the cost of service study. Both city and township provided the data and information for it. The end result was the findings indicated that the township subsidized operations to the tune of about $280,000 a year. And it was precipitated, the city asked, they thought they were paying more than their fair share at the time. That's what led us to doing the cost of service study. And the result was that we both needed to actually pay more, was the result, but we were subsidizing operations. And that's kind of what precipitated the city's decision to go out on their own.
Well, and part of what precipitated was we needed capital investment and new fire trucks and what have you, and we didn't have the money to do that.
True.
Okay.
So the next 4 slides that you'll see here, this data was pulled from Grand Blanc Township's annual comprehensive financial reports, which are available online under the finance section of our website. So from 2019 to 2025, early on in 2019, capital expenditure was around $173,000. A lot of that was dedicated to renovating the space here in order to accommodate the move of the fire department to come back here to Township Hall. We did spend about $28,000, according to that report, on some miscellaneous equipment. In 2020, we purchased a single axle ladder truck for $825,000, and there was also some other equipment in there, breathing apparatus equipment, and various tools. So the total capital expenditure in 2020 was approximately $1.1 million. Moving forward to 2021, obviously we're coming off of COVID year, not a lot of expenditures there. In 2021, there was an air purification system that was added at Station 2 out on Baldwin Road for just under $25,000. Moving forward to 2022, a little under $100,000 worth of capital expenditures, including breathing air compressor and the generator at Station 2. Moving forward to 2023, that's when we did some significant renovations to Station 2. A lot of this was the ARPA money that was dedicated towards those renovations, almost to the tune of about $1.7 million in 2023.
That, that was to add sleeping accommodations
That's correct, as I understand it, yes.
and workout area, what have you.
Exercise equipment?
Moving ahead to 2024, about $117,000 worth towards equipment, software, PPE equipment, an ATV vehicle that was purchased for the fire department. And then in 2024 was about the time that we were allocating and committing approximately $7 million towards fire station, the new fire station number 1, which is being built in conjunction with the new DPW facility just behind us here on Dort Highway. And then in 2025, the purchase of the 100-foot aerial fire truck at the tune of almost $1.9 million, and I believe the original price tag on that was about 2.2, but we were able to pay that at 1.8 with cash instead of financing that purchase. So if you add it all up, since 2019, year by year, of the amount of capital investment into the fire department, that is approximately $12 million that the township has allocated towards capital improvements for the fire department since 2019.
Okay, question.
Miss Hugo?
Sorry.
Yep.
So previously, we were told that station number 2 was paid for with DDA funds, like for the renovations and everything. But then we were told that we used, hold on, sorry, I wrote down so many questions. We were told that the township paid for the renovations. So who actually paid for the renovations? The township or DDA? Do you know that answer by chance?
I do not know that answer.
Yeah, the DDA didn't pay anything on the fire station. There was never a plan for the DDA to pay anything on the fire station. It was always ARPA funds, and it was, the whole entire renovation was done with. When we received the ARPA funds from the federal government, $3.8 million, we dedicated $1.6 million to the expansion and renovation of station number 2.
Okay. At one point, though, we were told that DDA funds.
I don't know who told you that. But the DDA was never putting any money into fire station number 2.
Okay. You told us, but that's okay.
Never happened.
Operational budget history from 2019 to what is currently proposed for 2026. The recommended budget dollars from 2019, 640,000. Moving along, you'll see the various increments there, how that has increased year over year. Currently proposed in 2026 is 2.55 million. You take that versus the actual budget dollars of what was spent year over year, you'll see similar, same trend there, an increase year over year.
So from 2019 was when we were with,
That's when we were still, about half the year still with the city at that time, so that's kind of an outlier as far as a data point there. But if you look at it from 2020 through 2026, that's almost an increase of $1.2 million.
what do you figure the percentage was, Matt? I think you mentioned.
What are you looking at that, 90-some percent?
Okay,
92?
5 years. Okay.
Moving ahead to mutual aid history, this graph was pulled from the 2024 year-end fire department report. What is mutual aid? It's basically help to or from neighboring departments. So if you look at the graph here, you can see since that time that the township took on the fire department, let's say 2020, we do give more mutual aid than what we receive.
Mr. Yancho?
Is that because each of those entities need more assistance at various fire locations?
As
That
far-
why mutual aid is,
If it's a fire departmental operational question, I'd prefer if Chief Gent answers those later on. That may be a question that he'd be more geared towards.
thank you.
Okay. Looking at a response time history, again, this is pulled from the year-end reports. In the report, it's identified that the goal is to be on scene within 8 minutes. If you look at the data from 2020 through 2024, what we have available, consistently hitting that benchmark of being under 8 minutes.
We got a question, Matt.
Sure.
I'll ask the chief, but
Okay. Staffing history, 2024 through 2025. 2020 through 2023, we were at 4 full-time firefighters, averaging somewhere around 30 part-time. In 2024, full-time firefighters were increased to 6, and part-time numbers have gone down a bit, currently at 28 for 2025.
how many are we budgeted for 2025 for part-time?
Believe 40?
40?
40? And again, sticking with the year-end reports, looking at call volume history from 2019 through 2025. You can see 2019 through 2022 averaging somewhere around 680, 690, maybe around 700. You will notice a spike there in 2023. It was noted in the year-end reports that that was due to responding to lift assists, where Those who fell, they were not injured, but they needed some assistance getting back up. In 2023, the fire department took on those calls. That has since been discontinued since mid-2025. So the numbers there, you'd expect that trend to come back down a little bit and probably settle in an average moving forward somewhere around 700, 750 calls.
One of the things that I discovered, family member in an assisted living facility was, or independent living, was that I think a lot, and since we have quite a few of those in Grand Blanc Township, we had facilities relying on us. In fact, a family member that I said was living at one, I found out that the staff was not able to lift him. We had to call the fire department if any resident fell. And I felt as though we were subsidizing those facilities with our fire department lifting and potentially injuring themselves. Also, Del Webb, or Grand Reserve, had a couple of individuals that, I think I heard from some of our firefighters that we were out there multiple times a day. And I know Chief Gent, I believe, said we're not equipped for doing that kind of thing. And in my opinion, we were subsidizing some of the assisted living and independent.
I think that's a fair assessment.
While we want to help people, the EMS and ambulance services can be called when somebody falls like that if the facility isn't equipped.
Then again, from the year-end report, the number of fires history, 2019 through 2024, you'll see those average somewhere around 75 or so, 74, 75.
We don't know, they're probably varying degrees of fires. Some
Right.
are total loss, some are brush fire, what have you.
So it's the strategic plan for the fire department for Grand Blanc Township. The board adopted strategic plan 2021 through 2024. It identified two main areas for the fire department that have since been completed or currently working on completion. One of those was in 2023, again, with the renovation of Fire Station Number 2. And then it was identified in that strategic plan for construction of a new Fire Station Number 1 slated for completion in 2026. The current adopted strategic plan, board adopted strategic plan for 2025 through 2028, under the community engagement goal area, it did identify exploring all service delivery methods for police and fire. And just as a reminder, the adoption of any of the strategic plans, it's a collaborative effort between the departments, the board, the administrative team. So, any questions on that one?
When was it that I've got a copy of the sections of the strategic plan, I think our board does too, when was that we passed that? That was in the spring of this year, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, spring of this year, you did your update for the 2025, 2028. I don't know if I have the date on there or not, quite frankly.
The sessions were in early April, and May was adoption.
Okay.
Yeah, April 5th was when you met on the plan.
So our wanting to investigate these types of things as far as service delivery models predates any of this discussion here tonight. But also, I think, the renovation of Station Number 2 and the construction of Fire Station Number 1 clearly shows that we're looking towards the future, towards, growing. Obviously. Okay.
Then moving forward to the progress that has been made, significant progress that has been made in the collective bargaining agreements for both full-time and part-time firefighters. This just outlines the dates that these contracts were ratified and when they expire. So they are from 2024 through 2027. The next few slides here, we're going to jump into the improvements and the investment that the township has made with our employees. Summary of the 2024 tentative agreement for the full-time firefighters. On average, 17 to 21.5% in wage increases occurred in 2024, and 5% over the next 2 years. Benefits of this were also improved wage progression, increased hearing aid benefits, additional holidays, improved life insurance benefits, increased healthcare savings plan contributions, and an increased boot allowance. So the dollar figures, the numbers are up there for you guys to review. The far left column was the current wage scale in effect at that time before ratification of that contract. And then in 2024, 25, 26, it outlines the increases that occurred or that will still occur with the remainder of the contract.
So if I'm reading this correctly, when this was ratified, a 40-hour firefighter was at 57,466, is that correct?
Correct.
October 1st, is that what I'm reading, 24?
Yes.
It goes up to 67,236, so 21% or whatever you. And then 5% in October of 25. Am I reading that correct?
Yes, correct.
70,598. And then October 1st of 26, it'll go up to 74,127.
Correct.
5%. And then the 24-hour firefighters, explain to us what the difference between a 24-hour and 40-hour. You know, Matt?
I don't know.
Dennis?
So there were two classifications. The 40-hour firefighters were hired because it was harder to find more part-time firefighters to fill the day shifts because they work other careers. So they were classified as 40-hour firefighters, meaning they worked typically Monday through Friday in a 40-hour work week. 24-hour firefighters work. They come on 24-hour shifts, so they work, various shifts throughout the month. That's the difference when it refers to a 40-hour or a 24-hour. Some were working, and I think they're all at 24 hours now. I don't think we have any 40-hour firefighters currently.
Okay, so this is all full-time here.
This was full-time tentative agreement, yes.
So one of our goals is to be within 90 percentile or top 10% of municipalities that are similar to us?
Correct, 90th percentile.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
The next slide here was still on full-time. The image on the left was the previous bargaining agreement from 2019 through 2024. The image on the right is the wage scale that you saw on the tentative agreement. Really, the numbers you're taking out of this, in 2019, the base wage was $46,125. That did increase to $57,466 in 2023. And then in 2024, that did jump up to $67,236. So an increase basically from $46,125 to $67,236.
And that's because we found that they were, we had taken over basically from a mutual fire department, and we said our firefighters are being underpaid.
That's correct. Yep. That was an approach to get them into that 90th percentile. Moving ahead to the part-time tentative agreement, that one's a little bit harder to see. But the takeaways from this essentially are that from the old contract, the old 2019 through 2024 contract and the new contract, there was a 15% in wage increases in 2024, and then again the 5% over the next 2 years, similar to the full-time contract. One of the other options I saw in there on the tentative agreement is that they had the option, the part-time was allowed the option to participate in the township's 457 plan as well. That was an added benefit in there as well. And then similar to the full-time, the image on the left there was the existing contract from 2019 through 2024. And then the new contract, 2024 through 2027 on the right, showing the progression year over year.
I don't want to get too deep into the contract negotiations that went on, but they wrapped up, I think, sometime, I believe, just before Chief Gent came on, right? What was it?
Was
November 20th, I think.
fall,
Contracts were settled in 2024.
fall of 2024, I believe, yes.
Were there any safety issues that, I'm sorry? Were there any safety issues that were addressed during the negotiations or requests? Unsafe conditions that were noted?
I mean, some of the safety issues, and it's inherent in the profession, one of the, with the full-time contract especially, we talked a lot about hearing aids because it is something that I don't know if that's general public knowledge or not, but because of the very nature of their work, being in the vehicles, that kind of thing. So there was a request by the union, rightfully so, to find a way to increase that benefit. So that was negotiated in there. Increased additional amount for safety, shoe, boot allowances. But yeah, I think, you know, if there wasn't, those were kind of the, off the top of my head, like what the safety that was addressed or concerned, those were what we agreed to in the contract.
Yes, Mr. Yancho?
So kind of the elephant in the room, during negotiations, did no one ask for increased staffing?
Mr. Lemata?
I mean, that's sort of that's a misnomer. I mean, if you look at, just in labor negotiations alone, regardless of the labor contract, management rights is number of staffing, operations, that thing. So, I mean, it's not necessarily something, I mean, it would be permissive subject of bargaining, but it's not a mandatory subject of bargaining. So it's not something that we would generally, from a management perspective, negotiate, you know, how many people with unions, regardless of whether that's with your, you know, DPW or your fire or your police. Management rights are in every labor agreement.
Thank you.
I asked our labor attorney that question. He said it was not brought up, the labor issue. Ms. Hugo?
Never mind, I'm good, thanks.
And then the last few slides here. So we hear about NFPA standards, the National Fire Protection Association standards. What are those? They define staffing, response times, and apparatus requirements, ensure community safety and firefighter safety. They provide measurable benchmarks for service levels. The two that you'll hear in question is NFPA 1710, the career fire departments, and NFPA 1720, combination and volunteer fire departments. So what is the difference between the two? A career fire department, one that utilizes full-time or full-time equivalent personnel who are immediately available to make up at least 50% of an initial full alarm assignment. The combination fire department, one that relies on a mix of career and part-time or volunteer firefighters. So the statistics for Grand Blanc Township, again, in the fire department year-end reports, it does say in there that Grand Blanc Township is a combination department. Our current staffing number is 6 full-time, 28 part-time. The 2024 estimated population of 40,056. If you take that with the area, the population density is 1,224. That'll come into play on the next slide we will look at. Your average response time going back a few slides into the beginning in 2024, 7 minutes and 45 seconds. And then this demand zone of urban, we are going to look at on the next slide here, the staffing and response timetable for NFPA 1720. If you look at the urban zone, demand zone up there, the demographics of that are greater than 1,000 people per square mile. If you remember, we go back to the previous slide, around 1,200. Minimum staff to respond, 15. response time of 9 minutes and meeting that objective 90% of the time. That is where Grand Blanc Township would fall in on that staffing and response timetable. And then another one you may hear about is the ISO rating. So what is an ISO rating? It's a score from 1 to 10 assigned by the Insurance Services Office that reflects the community's fire protection capabilities. With an ISO rating, a lower number is better. What does it evaluate? Three main areas of a community's fire suppression system: emergency communications, fire department, and water supply. The most recently published ISO report on our website was from 2020, in which Grand Blanc Township was a Class 4. That is up from a Class 5, which is also on our website in the 2017 report. Now, keep in mind, that's when we were a joint fire department with the city. So with the last ISO rating that is available on the website, that has increased. Has improved, I should say.
Did you have anything else? No. Okay. On that ISO rating, just my own knowledge of it is that at some point you basically bottom out because, for example, in our township, we don't have, and most townships don't have water everywhere in their municipality. We're talking fire hydrants. So, we have several large subdivisions actually that are older, Warwick, for example.
Correct.
Several others that don't have.
They're on wells, correct. They're not on municipal
wells,
water, correct.
So there are no hydrants. So ISO rating affects both residential and commercial buildings insurance as well. But, put water in those hydrants, probably, I think we priced out Warwick at $4 or $5 million. So at some point, we've reached the best we can get right now.
Just, if I may, Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
sir.
just to put a finer point on it, based upon the water that we do have in the township, the rating 4 is the best rating that can reasonably expected for us to secure.
That's possible, but
Statement or asking?
That's, well,
Yeah.
it's a statement, it's a rhetorical statement, a rhetorical question. I suppose I'll put the question to Deputy Chief Miracle or Chief Gent. Thank you.
Okay.
And then finally, last slide, I promise. So what are the key takeaways from this? So from 2019 to 2025, again, approximately $12 million in capital expenditures for the fire department. The operational budget has increased from $1.33 million in 2020 to $2.55 million proposed in 2026, currently at this stage. The mutual aid given versus received, if you throw out that 2019 outlier and just look at 2020 through 2024, mutual aid given versus received is nearly a 6-to-1 ratio with that chart. Average apparatus response time has consistently been under 8 minutes every year since 2020, as identified in that report. The call volume data, remember, we believe it's skewed from 2023 to mid-2025 regarding the lift assist. Average annual number of fires is around 75 since 2019. Again, the collective bargaining agreements have resulted in significant wage increases and other negotiated benefits. The fire department in the year-end reports is identified as a combination fire department, and the ISO rating from 2020 is a Class 4, which is an improvement from a Class 5 in 2017.
Okay, any questions regarding the data that Mr. Kimmers presented? Okay, thank you very much for
Thank
giving
you.
us a view of historical perspective on the fire. And I have to say that it's impressive that our fire department, while we celebrated our 100th anniversary this past summer, we've only been on our own without the city since 2020, basically. And so we've achieved a lot. I wish we had some of the statistics available from when we had the joint fire department and weren't staffed as well. And so anyways, thank you, Matt, for putting that together.
Thank you. I just want to make sure if I unplug that, it's...
Yeah, I can turn it off. But with that, the board actually put together a list of questions that we submitted to Chief Gent last week, and I know that he has some thoughts on where we go from here with our strategic plan, or with a new strategic plan for the fire. And so invite Chief Gent forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I appreciate the trip down memory lane. I'll address a lot of that in this presentation here. This briefing connects three essentials: how we work today, the rules we must follow, and a clear path to deliver safer, more reliable service. Our strengths are a combination workforce that controls costs and can increase for unusual events. Disciplined on-scene leadership, a new transparency through routine performance reports. We also need to be candid about what matters most to residents: speed, safety, and effectiveness. Day-to-day staffing varies, which makes the first minutes of an incident inconsistent. At confirmed structure fires, the first crew cannot always start interior operations right away because the 2 in, 2 out rule, 2 inside, 2 ready outside must be met. At the recent Latter-day Saint incident, we added 90 shifts to the schedule, but they are unfunded and hard to maintain with the current staffing levels. These are solvable problems. The main limitation is reliability. Part-time. Excuse me. Our plan is phased, cost-conscious, and aligned with required standards. The phased implementation proposal for 2026 adds 4 full-time firefighters that would be effective April 1st. Time to the opening of Station 1. That sets predictable daily minimums. For Station 1, there would be 2 full-time firefighters and 1 part-time firefighter, 24/7, 365. At Station 2, there would be 1 full-time firefighter and 2 part-time firefighters. And that would launch medical first responder certification for the department to improve medical first response. We will begin cost recovery services that would capture funds for the township, and that would offset those personnel costs. In parallel, we'll pursue a SAFER grant to front-load federal support. If SAFER is not available or awarded, we'll prepare a millage language now, so revenue begins in 2027, enabling the next hiring step toward 2-station hybrid model and ultimately having 18 full-time firefighters to staff MIOSHA and NFPA standards. Over the past 6 months, we stabilized daily operations, added safety safeguards, and opened up our performance to the public with clear monthly reporting. The McClandis incident proved that firefighters already know minutes matter, and hoping the right people happen to be nearby is not a plan. We need a funding path that adds people responsibly. The SAFER grant prioritizes federal dollars, reducing the near-term local burden. Cost recovery from medical first response helps offset expenses, so the general fund isn't carrying the entire burden. The joint message provides our employees and residents with a clear roadmap. Everything we're proposing aligns with the board's strategic direction and compliance with labor law. The core problem is simple. The community risk is growing faster than our staffing can cover. I'm asking for actions to close that gap.
authorize our safer application now, adopt cost recovery, and authorize an insurance impact analysis, and approve the first phase of hiring. These steps turn standards into results people can feel: faster arrival, safer interior operations, and earlier rescues. The Grambling Township Fire Department is a combination agency by design. That means we blend full-time and part-time staff. This model gives two clear strengths: cost control, where we can stretch tax dollars by mixing staffing types, and surge capacity, when we can bring in extra people for unusual, large-scale events. Those advantages matter in a growing community with many types of calls because they preserve depth when risk spikes while keeping the base budget responsible. The main limitation is reliability. Part-time availability changes week to week, which creates volatility on the schedule. That volatility affects our ability to meet safety standards and to run the right sequence of jobs when the first crew arrives. Set command, secure water, force entry, attack the fire, do a primary search, and stage a rescue team, which is RIT. Facts are straightforward. We are budgeted for 40 part-time firefighters, but roster 28. Hiring and retention are getting harder due to scheduling conflicts, full-time jobs elsewhere. These labor market pressures show up as open shifts, last-minute fills, and slower task convergence at real incidents. These realities shape our operations. The combination model still delivers value if we stabilize it with predictable full-time core and use part-time staffing strategically for surge and backfill. That is the purpose of phase plan before you: to keep costs disciplined, reduce day-to-day variability, and ensure when residents call that we arrive first and fast and operate safely and perform effectively from the first minute we arrive. Michigan law, my OSHA Part 451, adopts OSHA's respiratory protection rule and makes 2 in, 2 out mandatory at confirmed interior structure fires in a dangerous IDLH atmosphere and environment. In plain terms, 2 firefighters must go in together and 2 must remain outside, fully equipped and ready to form an immediate rescue. This is not optional. It is legal and a safety baseline that controls when and how interior firefighting begins. With our typical arriving first crew size, we cannot legally start an interior fire attack until a second crew arrives to complete the outside team. That pause happens in the most time-critical window of a structure fire, when getting water on the fire early and starting a primary search most strongly affects civilian survival and firefighter risk. Seconds matter. If we can't field the required team on arrival, we can't launch the full sequence: establishing command, water supply, forcible entry, fire attack, search, and a dedicated rescue team, which is called RIT, at the pace that changes outcomes. These are the 4 standards that anchor our decisions and define what good looks like in plain terms. My OSHA Part 74 points us to NFPA 1561 for incident command and accountability. These establish clear roles, manageable span of control, and tracking who is where on every scene. NFPA 1500 is the safety umbrella that encompasses protective equipment, training, risk assessments, wellness, and post-incident reports. NFPA 1710 sets deployment goals for career departments and how fast units should arrive and how many people are needed for typical house fires. NFPA 1720 sets similar goals for combination volunteer departments. By community type: urban, suburban, rural, recognizing different density and turnout realities. Prior analysis for our service area classifies us as a combination department and benchmarks us to NFPA 1720, making those demand zone tables our primary planning yardstick. These aren't academic citations. They are the rules of the road. They determine how many trained people we must place on the first line, how quickly they must arrive, and how we maintain accountability once they're working. Building our roadmap around MIOSHA Part 74, NFPA 1561, NFPA 1500, and the applicable 1710 and 1720 tables keep the plan objective, defensible, and focused on what residents expect. Faster arrivals, safer operations, and effective task execution from the first minute. An independent review, the CPSM study that they referenced earlier, looked at how the former joint city-township fire department was working. That report flagged real problems with the old setup and laid out common sense fixes. Staff to recognize safety standards, clean up data and reporting, formalize automatic aid so the closest unit responds, strengthen prevention and training, and manage to a clear standard of cover. During that process, the township chose to leave the joint model so it wouldn't be stuck with the status quo. That decision made sense only if we actually followed through on the upgrades. CPSM recommended where we stand today. We've improved facilities, but the core modernization CPSM stand for standards-based daily staffing, closest unit automatic aid with shared training and playbooks, and a documented deployment plan has moved slowly or been blocked. The practical effect for residents is simple. Some days we hit the mark, other days we're short the people we need at the exact minute it matters, which slows water to the fire, search and rescue setup. The ask is to finish what we started. Commit to the CPSM playbook, adopt a formal standard of cover, lock in closest unit automatic aid and joint training, fix the data pipeline so performance is transparent, and phase in staffing to meet the 2-in, 2-out rule, which establishes early search on every shift. This is not about relitigating the past. It's about keeping the promise we made when we left the old model, a safer, modern, standards-driven fire service for the township. Modern fires burn hotter and faster because of today's building materials and contents, and roadway incidents are more complex than in the past. That reality means several critical tasks must start almost at the same time on a working fire. You have to establish command and accountability, secure a reliable water supply, force entry, advance a hose line to cool the environment, begin a rapid primary search, and stand up a ready intervention team while maintaining scene safety. With only 2 or 3 people, these jobs can't run in parallel. They stack one after another, and the minutes lost are exactly when survivability and firefighter risk change the most. This is the operational reason, not a preference for a consistent 5-person initial company. With 5 on arrival, command and accountability are established while water is secured. The line is advanced and search begins, concurrently, not sequentially. The result is earlier water on the fire, faster victim location, and a safer operating envelope for the crews. For residents, that translates directly to what matters most: speed, safety, and effective action from the first moments. For the department, a 5-person company supports reliable compliance with 2-in, 2-out, and disciplined task execution under MIOSHA and NFPA. The phased staffing plan is designed to make this standard, not the exception. So every first due company can do the right work in the right order, quickly and safely on every shift. Independent research from the National Institute of Standards and Technology confirms what firefighters experience on every working fire. Larger, timely crews complete critical tasks faster with fewer areas. Crew size and arrival sequencing drive the metrics that change outcomes. Time to water on the fire, speed of primary search, and overall coordination under command. These are not academic gains. They are minutes and seconds in which civilian survivability improves and firefighter risk decreases. NIST findings translate directly to street-level performance. When enough trained people arrive together, command is established, water is secured, entry is forced, lines are advanced, and search begins concurrently, not sequentially. Our staffing roadmap is built on this evidence. By stabilizing a predictable on-duty complement and phasing towards a consistent 5-person initial company, we operationalize the NIST science for Grand Blanc's specific risk profile. The result is a measurable The Department of 5-person company supports a reliable compliance with 2 in and 2 out. Disciplined tax execution under MIOSHA and NFPA expectations. The phase staffing plan before you is designed to make this the standard, not the exception. So every first due company can do the right work in the right order, quickly and safely on every shift.
No matter where the fire station is located, when the alarm sounds, firefighters rush to answer the call. They know that every second counts for keeping a fire from spreading, minimizing property loss, and most of all, saving lives. But while the dedication of firefighters across the country may be the same, the size of the crews they dispatch to a fire may vary significantly from station to station. Some with just 2 firefighters per engine, others with as many as 5. So, how effective are different size crews at combating residential fires? To address that critical question and others, a landmark study was conducted by a consortium of fire researchers led by the National Institute of Standards and Technology.
This is the first time in a national study that we've been able to isolate the effects of crew size, in this case 2 persons, 3 persons, 4 persons, and 5 persons on an engine. Also look at the effects of engine arrival time, the spacing between the subsequent engines, and the different fire growth rates.
Using a 2-story test house built near the NIST campus in Maryland, the researchers studied different size crews of firefighters in action against residential fires. Crews of 2, 3, 4, and 5 firefighters were timed performing each of 22 standard tasks for responding to a fire. The results? 4 and 5-person crews completed all of the firefighting and rescue tasks, on average 25 to 30% faster than 2 and 3-person crews, respectively. This finding could help communities better determine the number of fire stations and firefighters they should have at the ready.
Currently, the way deployment decisions are made is that the fire chiefs and the personnel, the city county managers or the mayor, the people who have the resources at the local level, get together and look at matching the resources that they have to the risks that they have. There is no technical basis for understanding if you make a change to your deployment, you add or subtract people, you open or close additional stations. There's no validated data to support understanding what the effects of those decisions are.
Thanks to the efforts of the NIST-led Firefighter Consortium, the data are now in hand and ready to make a difference.
Firefighting is built on tested science, not opinion. Crew size should never be a political decision. The national standard, NFPA 1710, translates decades of research and field data into clear staffing expectations, so departments can deliver fast, safe, effective service. In plain terms, it calls for a minimum of 4 firefighters on every engine and ladder company. That crew size isn't arbitrary with 4 trained people. The first arriving unit can establish command, secure water, advance a hose line, force entry, and begin rapid primary search concurrently, not one at a time, while maintaining the safety controls that protect both residents and firefighters. Our industry uses NFPA 1710 to set staffing for stations, apparatus, and EMS units because it ties direct resources directly to the outcomes: earlier water on the fire, quicker victim location, and tighter accountability on scene. Meeting this standard means the right number of people arrive together, ready to work in the first minutes when survivability changes the most. In short, 4-person companies are evidence-based minimum to do the critical jobs safely on time, so families get the results they expect when they dial 911. For the departments, a 5-person company supports reliable compliance with the 2-in, 2-out rule and disciplined task execution under MIOSHA and NFPA expectations. The phase staffing plan before you is designed to make this the standard, not the exception. So every first due company can do the right work in the right order, quickly and safely on every shift.
You may have heard about NFPA 1710, the industry standard for career fire departments. But what is it? And what does it mean for our community? Your house is on fire. It's your worst nightmare. In just 3 minutes, a fire can grow 16 times larger than when it started. And it continues to grow bigger and faster every second. Once the clock starts ticking, there's a shrinking window of opportunity to save lives and property. You want a full crew of firefighters to put it out quickly, or you may suffer a catastrophic loss. But how many are enough? 15, 20, 40? How do you decide? Fortunately, there's an internationally recognized industry standard. It's called NFPA 1710, and it's based on scientific evidence and research that establishes how many firefighters are needed to put out each fire and rescue anyone trapped. At a fire scene, you want a firefighter doing every job that needs to be done to save you and your house. And at a fire, there's a lot that needs to be done, like stretching the hose, hooking to a hydrant, searching for trapped people, venting the hot gases, and much more. For a low-hazard single-family house fire, NFPA 1710 specifies a minimum of 15 firefighters dispatched in the initial alarm. At an open-air strip shopping center or garden apartment fire, the standard specifies a minimum of 28 firefighters dispatched in the first alarm. And for fires in high-rise buildings at least 7 stories tall, the data show that the initial dispatch should be for a minimum of 43 firefighters, and that fire departments should send additional firefighters to situations that are beyond the capability of the initial alarm. When considering crew size on each engine and truck responding to a fire, the standard says that in low-hazard response areas like residential neighborhoods, the required number of firefighters on each fire engine and truck is 4. In areas with a high number of incidents or geographic restrictions like narrow roads, single-access bridges, or islands, a minimum of 5 firefighters on each fire engine and ladder truck is required. And in dense urban areas with high hazard occupancies like high-rise buildings, the minimum number of firefighters on each fire engine or truck is 6. Regardless of the type of property, 1710 also sets the time of arrival on scene within 4 minutes for the first engine with 4 firefighters. The 1710 standard for both response time and crew size is based on scientific evidence, not opinion. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, known as NIST, and its partners conducted extensive research to document the optimal crew sizes for various types of structures. As a decision maker, you and firefighters share a common goal. Everyone gets out alive. So when a house is on fire, just remember, it takes a minimum of 15 firefighters to put it out. And the responding crews should have the right number of firefighters on each engine and truck. The quicker the response time, the better the outcome for...
I ran a report earlier today. According to 1720, the past 5 years, we've had 15 firefighters, 17 firefighters on scene at all of our fires 3 times. And 2 of those were as I was fire chief.
You may...
When we talk about timely response, picture the true worst case, a house fire with people trapped in that moment. Timely is not an abstract, it's minutes. The only answer most families would accept is as fast as possible with enough trained people to start rescue and fire attack immediately. NFPA 1720 sets minimum expectations for combination departments. In plain terms, it says urban areas with greater than 1,000 people per square mile, you have to assemble 15 firefighters and begin a fire attack within 9 minutes, 90% of the time. Grambling Township currently has, according to the last report, was 1,224 people per square mile. Suburban areas, it goes right on down the line. These are minimum planning baselines, not guarantees, and for a family waiting for help, they can feel insufficient. The hard truth is that assembling the right number of trained people quickly enough is hardest when turnout is unpredictable. What can residents do? In suburban and urban areas where taxpayers reasonably expect faster responses, the community obligation is to fund and staff to the standard, so crews arrive quickly and can start rescue and fire attack at once. Expectations and investments must match the risk. Minutes matter, and people on the first rig change outcomes. Calls for service in Grambling Township rose about 56% from 2018 to 2024, driven by more residents, a large daytime population, and heavier traffic. That climb is not leveling off. To keep performance steady under this load, we need predictable staffing on the schedule, not hopeful assumptions about who among the part-time staff is free this week. When schedules hinge on availability, the impact shows up when residents feel it most. How fast we arrive, how safely we work, and how effective we are in the first couple of minutes. The fiscally responsible path is to plan for the real trend, not the best day. That means building a reliable full-time core and using part-time strategically for the surge and for backfill, not as the foundation of daily readiness. This approach protects 2-in and 2-out compliance, tightens arrival sequencing for command, water supply, fire attack, search and rescue, and reduces the constant fill-in churn that erodes reliability. We match resources to everyday risks so the community continues to get fast, safe, and effective service as demand grows. Our work is broad and time sensitive. Since 2020, about 8.5% of the calls have been traditional fire suppression. Roughly 23% are motor vehicle crashes and rescues, and about 19% involve hazardous conditions, wires down or gas leaks, hazardous material calls. The remaining half is medical assists, alarms, and service calls. This mix matters because it dictates what must happen in the first minutes, or on scene, run command and accountability, control hazards, secure traffic in the scene, assess patients, force entry when needed, and start a rapid primary search. If conditions warrant, when only a few people arrive, those tasks occur one after another, stretching critical timelines and increasing risk to residents and firefighters. By contrast, a well-staffed initial company can run multiple tasks in parallel. establishing water, beginning patient care, isolating energy sources, and initiating search or suppression under a single accountable incident commander. That is how we protect speed, safety, and operational effectiveness across the full spectrum of calls we actually respond to, not just structure fires. Our phase staffing plan is built to deliver that capability reliably on every tour, so the public experience consistent, high-quality service, regardless of incident type or day of the week. This outcome is simple. With enough trained people on arrival, we do the right work at the right time and keep both residents and firefighters safe. While tonight's focus is staffing for emergency response, 3 non-response roles are essential to make that staffing work as intended. We have to retain the fire marshal as a 40-hour prevention community risk reduction officer. This role reduces risk before emergencies happen through code compliance, inspections, and targeted education. We also need to add a fire inspector so frontline crews aren't pulled off the response off suppression roles. When companies leave their districts for inspection work, readiness and response reliability suffer. And dedicated inspector keeps units available, improving inspection throughout and follow-up. Third, we need to eventually add an administrative secretary to manage future billing, EMS cost recovery, and records as we launch eventual medical first responder services and expand operations. Accurate documentation and timely cost recovery protect the general fund and create an audit trail expected by insurers, ISO, and grantors. These additions align with best practices and ISO relevant documentation standards. And we have sequenced them after core operational staffing, so they strengthen rather than compete with our immediate readiness goals. The outcome for residents is straightforward. Frontline units remain available and better trained. Hazards are prevented upstream. Bills are processed accurately, and our records are defensible. In short, roles do not add bureaucracy. They unlock capacity, preserve response reliability, and sustain financial discipline so we can deliver fast, effective service. Our travel performance is strong, but speed alone is not enough. In comparable areas, our response times track with NFPA benchmarks. Prior studies show an average first arrival this year of about 6.3 minutes in the 90th percentile. We do see one consistent outlier, the Vassar Road corridor between Perry and McCandlish, where geography and turnout patterns make our arrival slower. The decision point is simple. Getting the first truck to the curb quickly does not guarantee we have enough trained people on scene safely and legally. Meeting a travel time goal gets us there fast, but is not assured we can immediately execute sequence that changes outcomes. Establishing command and accountability, securing a water supply, forcing entry, advancing hand lines, conducting rapid primary searches, and establishing a RIT team. When crews arrive light, those tasks run one after another, not together. And the minutes lost are exactly when resident survivability and firefighter shifts most. The operational formula is not negotiable. Speed plus people equals safe effectiveness. Our phase staffing plan addresses both sides of that equation, preserving travel time and performance while stabilizing on-arrival headcount. So we comply with both MIOSHA and NFPA and deliver the outcome residents expect: earlier water on the fire, faster victim location, tighter accountability, and safer operations at every working incident. When 10 to 12 trained people arrive early, the right jobs happen at the same time and in the right order. Water hits the seat of the fire sooner, ventilation is timed to support attack, not work against it, and the primary search starts earlier under a clearly accountable incident commander. Those gains are not cosmetic. They directly raise survivability odds for the residents and lower risk for firefighters in the minutes that matter most. This is what staffing to a standard delivers. Parallel operations rather than a slow step-by-step cascade that wastes time and increases danger. It also reduces errors, preserves 2 in, 2 out from the first line, and tightens overall scene contributions, in line with MIOSHA and NFPA. Put simply, enough people on arrival equals safer, faster, more effective outcomes. Relying on lucky overlaps of units and schedules is not a plan, it's coincidence. Our phase staffing plan makes the 10 to 12 early arrival capability predictable, repeatable, and defensible. So every working incident starts with the odds tilted in the community's favor. For motor vehicle incidents, MVAs, NFPA 1710 and 1720, in layman's terms, 2 things: how quickly help should arrive and how many trained people are needed to do the critical jobs at once on scene. Those jobs include traffic blocking to prevent secondary crashes, patient care and triage, extrication, a charged hose line for protection, hazard control, and incident command to keep everyone coordinated at the exact time, and staffing targets vary by community type and risk, but the principle is simple. With too few people, these tasks run one after another, and minutes slip away. With enough people, they run in parallel, which shortens entrapment time, reduces secondary collisions, and improves patient outcomes. When an MVA involves fire or other immediately dangerous conditions, 2 in, 2 out applies to interior operations just as it does to a structure fire. Our plan anchors daily staffing so these NFPA aligned functions can start right away, every time, on fires and on the roadway. Our 5-year roadmap is simple, standards-based and focused on results people can see. First, we'll earn medical first responder licensure and launch ECHO units, quick response medical teams that do not transport, to close the gap before an ambulance arrives. While transport remains with our partners, second, through targeted hiring, we'll build to a consistent 5-person arriving crew. So the key jobs, command, securing water, fire attack, primary search, and RIT teams can run at the same time, not one after another. Third, we will pursue SAFER and AFG grants together to lower the local cost and speed hiring without straining the general fund. Fourth, we'll put a standing incident commander, a battalion chief, or shift commander on every shift to meet MIOSHA Part 74 and NFPA 1561 requirements for command, accountability, and crew tracking on every response. This plan delivers benefits residents feel right away: faster arrival, safer operations, and more effective first-minute actions at every step. Every step is tied to recognized benchmarks, so the progress is clear and defensible. As MFR and EMS capabilities start, cost recovery begins. As staffing stabilizes, 2 in and 2 out safety rules are met upon arrival, and the standing and incident commander's role is formalized. Accountability and coordination tighten across all incidents. The sequence is practical: build medical first response, lock in reliable on-duty staffing, and use federal dollars first, and hardwire command discipline. The outcome is a safer, more reliable department that meets legal standards and community expectations, delivering these things that matter most every day: speed, safety, and operational effectiveness. Our operational end state is clear and measurable. 2 stations 24/7 with 5 people on duty at each, 10 on the street every day. We will get there with a hybrid staffing model that balances reliability and cost. Station 1 with 3 full-time and 2 part-time. Station 2 with 2 full-time and 3 part-time. To anchor this model, we'll need a dependable full-time core, using the standard 56-hour schedule that equates to 18 operational full-time positions, plus the fire marshal. We have 5 operational full-time firefighters today, and reaching the required 13 full-time position, or the 13 newly hired full-time firefighters. The target rank mix is built for immediate leadership and parallel task execution that will include 3 captains, 3 lieutenants, 6 sergeant engineers, and 6 firefighters. This configuration is not arbitrary and is sized to meet state and national safety standards, deliver outcomes residents feel: faster arrival, safer interior operations, earlier water on the fire, and an approach that recognizes surge capacity. When calls spike, while the full-time core stabilizes day-to-day readiness, eliminating the variability that now slows critical tasks. The plan turns standards into street-level performance, with the right people in the right roles arriving together so the work occurs faster, safer, and more effectively at every significant incident. The cost picture is clear and fully loaded at today's wage and benefits levels. Keeping 6 full-time positions, including the fire marshal, costs about $765,000 a year. Reaching the operational end state with 19 full-time positions, including the fire marshal, it costs about $2.25 million a year. With an incremental increase to the 13 additional full-time firefighters, that increase is about $1.48 million annually. These figures include everything: base pay, built-in overtime for the 24-hour staff, holiday pay, retirement, healthcare savings, Medicare, health insurance, uniform, and other allowances. The meeting is straightforward. This request is not a placeholder or partial estimate. It's a complete cost build tied directly to the staffing plan. It reflects the real price of moving from today's variable readiness to a reliable standards-based posture that delivers faster arrival, safer interior operations, and an earlier search and knockdown of the fire. Every dollar in this proposal is connected to outcomes residents expect, and the accountability captures all costs needed to sustain those outcomes year after year. A single $1.48 million increase from the general fund in 1 year is likely not feasible. The responsible approach is a phased build that delivers clear operational gains while matching fiscal reality. A phased implementation to hire 4 full-time firefighters, timed to the April 1st, 2026 opening of Station 1. This aligns people with the facilities on day 1 and stabilizes the schedule where residents notice it most: how quickly and safely we arrive. Under this, Station 1 runs 2 full-time and 1 part-time person, 24/7, 365 per shift. Station 2 will run with 1 full-time and 2 part-time per shift. We'll prioritize qualified internal part-time candidates to speed onboarding, retain know-how, and protect our culture. The result will be a predictable daily minimum, cleaner arrival sequencing for command, fire attack, and search and rescue operations. And this is the right conditions to launch our medical first responder service. Financially, the 4 full-time hires would total about $444,000 a year. With an April 1st start, the 2026 prorated cost is about $333,000 a year. We'll bridge that with the general fund, pursue available grants, and start MFR cost recovery to offset part of the expense. In parallel, we'll apply for SAFER grants to front-load federal support. If SAFER grants are unavailable or not awarded, we will prepare millage language so new revenue begins in 2027, enabling the next increment of full-time staffing toward our 2-station hybrid in-state. In short, this implementation locks in reliable coverage when it matters most, starts EMS cost recovery, and keeps a federal first, local last funding path, turning standards into street-level performance without overextending the general fund. After the recent LDS church event, we raised coverage to match the demonstrated risk. I added 2 firefighters on the first shift and second shifts, and an additional firefighter on the third shift. This added 1,080 additional shifts per year. None of these shifts are budgeted in fiscal year 25 or fiscal year 26. With our current headcount, maintaining this posture depends on constant fill-ins and overtime, which accelerates fatigue, drives churn, and erodes reliability. It also disrupts training continuity and on-arrival task sequencing, the very ingredients that determine whether command, establishing a water supply, attack, search and rescue, and RIT start on time. The community now expects this higher readiness level. The question before us now is how to sustain this responsibly. The most viable answer is to convert this recurring schedule load into full-time positions. Doing so replaces unsustainable overtime and last-minute coverage with predictable staffing. It assures 2 in and 2 out compliance on arrival and preserves crew integrity across every shift. It reduces operational risk tied to variable availability and cuts administrative burden of perpetual backfilling. Funding full-time positions to absorb this 1,080 additional shifts is not expansion for expansion's sake. It is the stabilization of a risk-appropriate standard we have already implemented. For residents, that translates into outcomes that matter most: faster arrival times, safer interior operations for the crews, and effective action in the first minutes, every shift, at every station. Safer grants are a fiscally conservative path to the same operational end state. Its cost share is front-loaded. The federal government typically covers 75% of a firefighter's wage in years 1 and 2, and 35% in year 3, which materially reduces the near-term local burden while we phase into the long-term commitment of those firefighters. This structure lets us add people we need now when outcomes are most sensitive to staffing, without overextending the general fund. Our application package is ready to submit as soon as the program window reopens. This approach is straightforward: federal dollars first, local dollars last. We align hiring with operational priorities, stabilizing on-arrival headcount for 2 in and 2 out, tightening arrival sequencing for command, water, attack, search and rescue, and enabling our medical first responder launch. So each funded position produces immediate, measurable gains in speed, safety, and effectiveness. As the federal share steps down, we transition into a local funding plan, already in motion. In short, safer grants allow us to turn standards into street-level performance while responsibly pacing the township's long-term costs. Tonight's briefing ties 3 essentials together: how we operate today, the safety standards that govern us, and a practical roadmap to deliver faster, more reliable coverage. We have real strengths to build on: disciplined crews, a combination model that controls costs, and provides surge capacity and response times that generally track to NFP travel time objectives. Where we fall short is predictability. On arrival, part-time availability varies day to day, hour to hour, and station to station, creating volatility in the exact minutes when 2 in, 2 out, early search and rescue, and rapid water application determine outcomes. The economics and the operations point to the same conclusion. A fully loaded full-time firefighter costs approximately $111,000 a year and produces 2,800 to 2,900 scheduled hours at about $38 to $40 an hour, all in. A max part-timer costs us about $31,000 a year But once you add in fixed annual program costs, including gear, depreciation, training, employer taxes, workman's comp, uniforms, and other administrative costs, and low part-time low hour part-time working quickly becomes more expensive per hour and less reliable. The break-even point is 230 hours a year. Below that threshold, part-time costs exceed full-time, while still not guaranteeing the specific coverage needed to meet legal and safety standards. Our data show a small slice of part-time below that break-even point, and their cost is inefficient. And many part-time members near the practical limits of the part-time model, yet not contractually guaranteed on shifts that matter most. The path forward is phased and measured. We retain part-time for surge and backfill and talent development and anchor daily minimums with full-time to ensure on-arrival compliance and task convergence. Phase 1, which is actionable tonight, authorized 4 full-time hires tied to that April 1st station opening, funded with federal first, local last, supplemented with cost recovery, and possibly a millage in 2027. These steps convert standards into results that lead to faster arrival times, safer interiors for the crews, and at every day on every shift. One full-time firefighter delivers 2,800 to 2,900 hours of scheduled hours every year. A part-time member working the required minimum of 2 shifts per month is roughly 192 hours. The math is blunt. It takes 15 minimum part-time firefighters to equal the annual hours of 1 full-time firefighter. Along with that, you have 15 times the turnover risk and 15 times the fixed overhead with gear, training, payroll setup, workman's comp, and uniforms. And even then, those hours are not guaranteed to land on the specific days and times required to start the 2-in, 2-out launch on early search and get rapid water on the fire. For residents, that difference is felt as predictable readiness versus hope that the schedule holds. A full-time corps anchors daily minimums so the right people are on the rig at the right minute, every shift. Part-time staffing still matters. It provides us with surge and backfill capacity, and a pipeline of talent, but it cannot be the foundation of a reliable, on-arrival operation. Build the schedule on a full-time corps to guarantee safety and legal compliance. Deploy part-time strategically to absorb peaks, cover leave, and support special events without betting community outcomes on variable capability. This approach converts staffing math and street-level results that residents will notice: faster arrival, safer interior operations, and earlier rescues on every working incident. You'll hear a headline claim. The 2026 fire budget is 92% higher than 2020. On its face, that sounds huge. But here's what the numbers leave out. 2020 was our first year running the Township Fire Department. Startup years are lean and don't reflect a mature operation. Using that as the baseline makes any later increase look oversized. Second, simple economics: price rose a lot between 2020 and 2026. Inflation alone explains a quarter to a third of that change. Third, the 92% also includes major one-time or long-cycle capital costs, such as outfitting a new fire station. Those dollars are important, but they don't put trained people on the truck tomorrow. Now the part residents feel capability. When someone calls 911, the outcome depends on how fast we arrive and how many trained people arrive together. We need enough firefighters on scene at once to safely begin interior firefighting, search for victims, and deploy rescue crews. If something goes wrong, that's not politics. That's safety rules and common sense. Even with a 92% increase, we still don't consistently meet minimum on-arrival safety levels. So where did the money go? Into growing a new department from a tiny 2020 baseline, covering higher costs across the economy and outfitting a new station. All real needs, just not the same as daily staffing. The key question for the board is simple. How do we turn dollars into dependable staffing that people feel on their worst day? Our plan does just that. Phase in full-time positions to anchor daily coverage, keep the part-time for surge and backfill, and align spending to what matters most: faster arrival, safer interior operations, and earlier rescues. Combining the fire and DPW building into one shared complex is a smart, cost-effective move that directly improves safety and service. One building means shared design, land, utilities, and maintenance, fewer roofs and boilers to buy and fix, common training and meeting rooms, so taxpayers get real savings now and over the life of the facility. Just as important, the project finally fixes long-standing safety issues for firefighters. Proper diesel exhaust removal so fumes don't enter living areas, a clean, separate gear room to reduce cancer risks, adequate bunking for 24/7 crews, and a dedicated training space so skills stay sharp. The funding is also clear. This is a capital project plan with one-time ARPA dollars, water and sewer enterprise revenues and bonds, building dollars that are separate from ongoing staffing costs. It is not a favor to firefighters. It's a minimum modern standard for health and wellness and survivability. For residents, the benefits are tangible. Healthier crews mean fewer injuries and sick days. Better station layout speeds turnout times, and safer, cleaner spaces support reliable coverage. Bottom line, a combined fire and DPW facility saves money, closes known safety gaps, and helps ensure that on your worst day, the right people arrive quickly and can work safely. Our recent building projects have improved equipment and facilities, but they did not add enough beds or workspace to support the staffing a modern service model needs. As our population grows and we begin medical first responder service and eventually expanded EMS services, we will hit predictable pressure points that slower arrival of the second unit, more calls happening at the same time, and gaps during busy hours, especially in the Vassar-Perry-McCandless corridor. The prudent move now is to authorize a third station sitting study with clear, simple triggers, travel time targets, overlapping call rates, and unit hour utilization. The goal is right sizing, not oversizing. Adequate sleeping quarters for 24/7 crews, clean, dirty separation to reduce cancer-causing risks, a small but functional training room, and enough bays to support 5-person companies so critical tasks can start at once. Funding can be phased to match cash flow, site identification and acquisition, then design, then construction, financed through bonds or grants, while we also pursue regional partnerships to share costs and coverage. This is directly aligned with the township's strategic plan, future-proof our facilities so our people arrive faster, work safer, and deliver better outcomes on every shift for every neighborhood. Here's the funding plan. Diversified, phased, and tied to outcome residents will fill immediately. a stable local base, a millage, to renew the 1 mill and add an additional 2.5 mills to create a durable operating floor dedicated to core staffing and readiness, not discretionary projects. For a typical household, the combined impact is about $400 a year. That predictable investment buys faster arrival, safer operations, and earlier rescues. Cost recovery at service launch. When medical first responder service goes live, we can implement EMS cost recovery to offset personnel and operating costs. This protects the general fund and aligns payer with the service delivered and naturally scales with call volume. We can reassess our Sutphen aerial production slot. That delivery for that vehicle is not due until June of 2028. We can cancel that apparatus for monetization and redirect the resulting funds and reallocate that towards staffing. We can explore regional leverage and grants. We can expand our shared services and automatic aid arrangements to deepen our bench and strengthen competitiveness for SAFER and AFG grants. Regional depth lowers our standalone burden and improves our long-term sustainability. The board can authorize a millage preparation, along with that renewal of the 1.01 mill, we can do the additional 2.5 mills. You can approve that EMS cost recovery as well as other cost recovery avenues. You can direct staff to negotiate or exit the monetization of that Sutphen aerial apparatus and direct those funds towards staffing. I encourage you to endorse a regional MOA work stream and a SAFER grant submission calendar. This approach blends predictable local revenue, targeted cost recovery, disciplined capital choices, and regional leverage, turning dollars into measurable gains in speed, safety, and reliability. Our prevention and community risk reduction work is expanding on purpose. We now bring the fire education trailer to neighborhoods and school events for hands-on safety lessons. We are partnering with Genesee County Prevention Coalition on a stronger opioid awareness campaign to cut overdose and improve bystander response. We continue installing smoke detector alarms in higher risk homes, which directly reduce risk of fatal fires. We have deepened ties with school homes, with school district using age-appropriate fire and life safety lessons that students carry home to their families. The results are clear. Fewer fires, fewer injuries, and faster 911 calls when seconds matter. These efforts complement operations by educating residents before emergencies occur, encouraging safer choices across the community and building trust that helps on the worst day. As we phase in staffing, we will protect this prevention footprint as a core service, not a nice to have. That way the community benefits at both ends of the risk curve. Prevention up front to avoid incidents and effective response when needed to control them quickly and safely. Our training is built to the required standards and then push beyond them. Crews meet or exceed MIOSHA Part 74 and stay current on ISO relevant skills through a steady rhythm of in-house classes and company drills, live fire practice, technical rescue refreshers, and outside courses. The focus is practical, clear command and accountability, coordinated fire attack, rapid primary search, ready to deploy RIT teams, and safe roadway operations. We validate on the drill ground and reinforce on shift so skills show up when it counts. We're also rebuilding depth through partnership. Mutual aid agencies are training with us on shared lesson plans, joint exercises, and and compatible operating guidelines, so the closest unit arrives and works seamlessly as part of one team. In line with prior recommendations, we are pursuing a regional training center to standardize tactics, expand instructor capability, and lower per-person costs while raising performance across every participating department. Bottom line, common training creates common outcomes. We are going to faster track coordination, cleaner command, safer interiors, and resulting in better survivability odds for our residents. As we phase in staffing, the training architecture ensures added personnel convert directly into on-arrival effectiveness. The community can see in the minutes that matter most. We have led with transparency, disciplined data use, and with steady operational gains. The next step is simple. We have to match resources to the risk we already face and to the standards that define our safe practices. Our plan is measured and compliant. It turns policy into results that residents will feel at the curb. Faster response, safer interiors, faster water to the fire, and earlier rescues. To keep this momentum, we request 4 board actions, each tied to clear outcomes and fiscal prudence. Authorize an immediate safer application when it opens. This is the most cost-effective way to bring people on now. The federal share is front-loaded, which lowers the near-term local costs while we phase into the long-term commitment. Adopt EMS cost recovery when we launch medical first responder and commission an insurance impact analysis. Together, these steps quantify and offset the net cost of improved medical first response, protecting the general fund as it expands. Issue a joint communication. That way we can set clear expectations for the personnel and residents that we are building towards, what we are building towards and how we can get there, and how progress will be reported. Clarity strengthens trust and speeds expectations. Or speeds execution, I'm sorry. Approve the staggered implementation of hiring the 4 full-time firefighters that will be effective April 1st, aligned with Station 1's opening. This anchors daily minimums, stabilizes arrival sequencing, and positions us for 2 in, 2 out compliance and early search on every shift. This is not about personalities or politics. It is about lawful standards aligned with readiness. These decisions deliver measurable improvements in safety, survivability, and reliability for Grambling Township. And they do so with a reasonable funding approach that balances federal support, cost recovery, and phased local investment.
Thank you. Somebody need a couple of minute break, maybe? What's that?
If you want to take a few minutes, that's fine with me.
What does the board think? Take 5 minutes? Okay. Let's recess for 5 minutes, and it is 7:54. Let's resume at 8 p.m. All right, we'll bring our meeting back to order at about a minute after 8, I think. 2 minutes after. So we've heard presentation. I did receive your email at 7 p.m. regarding the answers to the questions that we sent. So the board can review those. What I'd like to do is have the board ask some questions this evening. Obviously, we're not going to resolve or decide anything tonight, but what I'd like to do is entertain with the board a work session with the chief where we can, not probably everybody in our board is familiar with how a work session works, but we would sit down in a more informal manner around a round table, what have you, and go through Chief Gent's plan in detail and, look at what we can afford and, safer grants and what have you. I know Flint Township applied a couple of years in a row, I think, but we can discuss all those things in more detail. But you saw the plan this evening that Chief Jen is putting forward. And so I guess, if we want to take a few questions, I haven't had a chance to read the email, obviously.
I do know Safer I've been told that Safer's reopening
Okay.
after the first of the year, so.
Okay. So I think I know we submitted quite a few questions. I don't know if you were able to answer all of them, because I think there was.
answered them all.
Did you? Okay. Because I think there was, I don't know how many of them, but
44.
was there? Okay. All right. Pretty deal.
Topic.
Okay. So with that, Mr. Yancho, you had your hand up?
I'm waiting to read the email, I guess, is the biggest thing. I really want to thank you for your presentation.
My pleasure.
Everybody on this board is interested in community safety. I live here. My son and daughter live here. My grandchildren live here. So I'm definitely concerned about safety. But I have lots of other things that I need to look after in the township. But our strategic plan is where we formulate answers to this type of situation, and I'm looking forward to working with you on a work session.
Okay.
Me as well.
Mr. Fike?
Thank you for your presentation. Clearly, you worked hard on it. I appreciate your thoroughness. Sounds like a great plan. But I think the big question that I have is, how the heck are we ever going to pay for it? What would we do to try to raise the money to do that? As I understand it, you're saying we should go after safer grants, but they're not guaranteed.
Correct.
So instead, we'll go to the taxpayers. We'll ask our local Grand Blanc Township taxpayers for an extra $400 a year. Do you know what's going on out there right now in our economy? There are a lot of people that are hurting, and they don't want any new taxes. So that is going to be a giant hurdle, I think, for you to sell. The other thing is, you're asking for $1 million, basically, from this year's budget that we somehow find. So you're asking us to cut $1 million, roughly, from our current budget, less for police, less for everything, to fund your plan. Is that accurate?
Technically, I asked for $333,000.
I thought it was $900,000.
I asked for $333,000 to hire 4 full-time firefighters on April 1st.
Okay, but you're still asking us to make serious cuts to what we've currently, have in motion.
You can
Even if it's $300,000, where will that come from?
reallocate funds.
Take it from police.
You can take it from a couple of places.
Where can we take it from?
I'm sure we can find a way.
But you-
Where? I mean, just saying, well, we can find a way is kind of a ifs and buts for candies and nuts kind of argument. And where are we going to get this money from?
You took it out of my budget and put it somewhere that I requested, so I'm sure we can find it from somewhere.
I don't know.
I don't have the budget in front of me to look at it, so.
I don't know that we haven't authorized taking any money from any budget. No. Yes, Hugo?
So I don't know if this is an option or not, but at what point, and I don't know if I ask you or if I ask Dennis or the attorney or Scott, but at what point do we say, like, no, we don't need the latest and greatest aerial truck or whatever truck. Let's put that money towards staffing. Like, would that be an option? Because I know we've approved a lot of equipment.
I've brought that option up, canceling the aerial truck and reallocating those funds towards staffing. I don't see why it can't be done. We can. I even thought maybe we can put our spot in line up for bid. I'm sure somebody would be willing to bid for our spot in line, to take our spot in line for that piece of apparatus.
One thing in the work session that I'd like to take a look at is our capital plan. When I first started on the board, I know that, every meeting we'd look at, we need another police car, okay, or we need, this piece of equipment for the fire, and it was just kind of like haphazard. So one of the things we did was we put together a capital plan that basically shows, in fact, I think it's in the financial for this year. Paul, you have it right there, I believe. I think in the financial, the budget, it actually shows the capital plan, that we do have a mapped out plan. And we don't buy trucks and police cars just because, it's a nice day or that there's a sale on them. We buy them because there's a certain number of years, certain number of miles, that we have a standard that we try to stay to. So I don't want to get into all those standards right now, but we do have a standard, and we do have a replacement plan for all of our vehicles, whether it's fire engines, police cars, you name it. And so I would want to take a serious look at that before we start making any shoot from the hip changes of, hey, let's cancel this and put it off. There's a certain life expectancy to those trucks, and NFPA actually has some things to say about when you replace trucks as well. So I'd want to look at that in the work session and see what trucks, we had an unfortunate situation in Atlas Township a couple of years ago where a truck broke down on the way to a fire. I'm not sure, I think it was not a good outcome from that. We don't want to have that situation here. But I think the capital improvement, we can look at that. Yes, Mr. Brown?
Two things that I think would be noteworthy. The first would be on your 15 part-timers equaling 2 full-time staffs. How do you feel about, how would you make that decision on who you would want to get rid of to fulfill those?
That's basically just, if you had 15 full-time or 15 part-time firefighters working at a bare minimum of shifts, that's how you come to that computation. And I'm not looking to cut full-time or part-time positions right now until we started adding more full-time positions. But that would, as you're adding full-time positions, that's definitely going to cut down on the number of shifts that are going to be available to part-time firefighters.
Okay. Now, is that something you would consider? Taking away one or two, taking away some of the part-time positions to fill a full-time?
Oh, yeah, I am going to take from my part-time firefighters to fill those full-time positions.
Because to me, everything that we've talked about, that seems to be the path of least resistance. Because essentially, you're reallocating resources from your existing department. So I think that's definitely something we should, sit down and talk about. The second thing I had, as it relates to the post, we had a job post for part-time firefighters, and then you directed your administrative assistant to tell our HR department to take that post down.
I don't know where that came from. That posting is still active right now online.
It's reactive. It was taken down August 10th, and then it was put back on October 10th. So I'm just wondering.
I wanted that posting to be changed to have an MFR requirement for the part-time, and that change was never made.
Okay.
I don't know why that change wasn't made, and they just put the posting back up without the MFR requirement.
Oh, I got you.
But you are correct, Mr. Brown, in that I did email our HR specialist and asked who requested that ad for because we're budgeted for like 40 part-time.
Correct.
And we're only at what?
28.
28. And I asked her, I said, why did that ad get canceled? And she said she received an email from your administrative assistant stating that to end the ad, but there was no reasoning given, just cancel the ad.
Yeah, I wanted to have the medical first responder as a requirement for hire.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Hugo?
I have two more questions. And I don't think that they should be directed towards Chief Gent. The fire department unions, both of them, have reached out to the board members asking us to come and sit down, talk with them, have a cup of coffee. Why are we being told no? That's my question. Like, if I wanted to stop by and say hi to Bill Larson, like, hey, I'm going to bring you some cookies. What's up today? I mean, I've been to the police department before, and I've walked around, and, like, they've shown me around. We're also residents. Why are we being told that we cannot meet with them?
Attorney Chubb, would you respond to that
Sure.
question?
So I believe that the string of emails that you're referencing was where members of the union were specifically asking to speak to the board as a board, and that would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act. And that's all that was referenced in the response to say, this board takes their obligations under the Open Meetings Act and any other law that they're subject to very seriously. That would be a violation. However, in the scenario that you're referencing, absolutely nothing stops you or any other board member from speaking with those individuals, ensuring there isn't a quorum and that you're speaking as individuals. That's absolutely permissible at any time.
The way that I interpreted the email, I believe word for word, it said, I would like to invite each one of you. I didn't think they were going to have the entire board come. You know what I mean? Like, it was disappointing for us to be told, no, sorry, we can't meet with you. We're not allowed to. Because that's how it felt. And then my other question is, I looked up, actually a little bit ago, the state of Michigan allows board members, elected officials, to do ride-alongs with the police department, with the fire department, depending on policy of the township or the municipality. Do we have a policy? Because I don't know all of these firefighters. I don't know what they do every day. I don't think any of us do. Like, how do we get to know the ins and outs of these departments? And I'm sorry that I didn't ask this my first term, but with everything that's going on right now, nothing makes sense to me.
We actually had a very good and informative Grand Blanc Township University class a couple weeks, about a month ago. I know a couple of our board members were, I was there, Mike was there, with the fire department, and it was extremely educational. Went through every piece of equipment, I think, everything from jaws of life to jacks to the equipment, the station. And so that was one thing that the board could avail themselves to if they wanted to see the trucks, everything from how the ladder works, techniques that they use. It was basically 3 hours, I think, started at 6, and actually, even when we ended the class, people stuck around to talk for quite a while after that even. So that's one way that you can, but.
If a board member wants to do a ride-along, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I
I think,
encourage it.
sure.
You know, it'd be great.
Yeah,
Highly encourage it.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm committed to doing it.
As far as the GBTU, I think that it has been wonderful. I know that the feedback from not only like staff members and the residents have loved everything about it, but I'd like to request in the future that we get an agenda on the first Wednesday, it's going to be the police department. The second Wednesday, it's going to be the fire, just so we know. I mean, I'm not able to be there every Wednesday, but it would be interesting to know what you guys are talking
They
about.
published one on social media, I believe.
There was
Parks and Rec.
Well, I'm not always on social media, so I would like to request that the board gets
Joel?
an agenda.
I have a question, but it's really for Dennis. Can you react to the numbers that we just saw? And, for instance, my concern about how we would ever pay for this. Go through that a little bit.
I mean, I can just understand that you have some limitations, right? So I can't react to the actual numbers that Chief Gent put out, off the top of my head. I'm sure they're correct because like anything with Chief Gent, he's very thorough and incredibly knowledgeable when it comes to fire service. The numbers, though, like what I can comment on is talking about millage funds. Like he said, renew 1 mil and add 2.5 mils. Just remember, as a charter township, you have a 10 mil cap. You have 5 mils that aren't voted for, that are for operational, and then you have another additional up to 5 mils that you go to the voters for to approve. Unfortunately, like a city where they have 20 mils that they can go up to, we are limited as a charter township. We don't have as much millage space as a city would do. So would it be hard pressed to do 3.5 mils for fire, 1.5 mils for police? That would only leave you your 5 mils for operating, and then you'd be capped out. Right now, your operating is on rollback at like 4.293, something like that. So you have a little bit of room there. But you also have the mosquito millage, you had a Parks and Recreation millage. And again, those funds can't be used for anything else. They're very specific. That's what they're for. So it would create some challenges, but I think You know, when you look at the plan that Chief Gent just presented, it would be phenomenal. I mean, you know, we all live in this community. I would love to know that I had that many firefighters arriving at my home in the event of emergency within 4 minutes. Hallelujah. But we also have the financial constraints, and that's where I think your work session and working with Chief Gent, working with the fire department, amongst the board members, you guys have priorities. You have a lot of competing interests, and that's where this budget, the session that we're in right now, this budget season, you know, you take a look at what you have coming in, and I mean, you're primarily funded by property taxes, probably, you know, that operation millage for your general fund, and then whatever else you add to it. You know, I would say you probably can't go to 3.5 mils for fire operations because you're going to bump up against that cap. But where is the right amount? Is it, you know, to 2.5 mils, or, you know, what's that going to bring in? What can you fund? Because you got that big thing. You have to hold elections. You have to assess properties. You have to do financial record keeping. You know, and you have to provide for the clerk's department. We like to say everything else is discretionary, like I said in my budget discussion 2 weeks ago. But is it really? I mean, the folks in this community, they want police, they want fire, they want you know, parks and recreation. So you guys are. It's a tough job for the 7 of you. You have to look at it and then provide through strategic plans. What do you want? What do you want the staff to carry out? I mean, the purse strings are yours. You can reallocate whatever you need to reallocate. You know, I think we've heard from Chief Gent very eloquently that we could do better in fire, right? And we all want to be there. It's about how do we get there, how long will it take us, and how do we fund it. You can't flip a switch and make it happen without cutting somewhere else. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, you guys all have your budget. Go through it and look for, you know, what would you do if you wanted to pull 333,000 out? What would you do if you wanted to pull 983,000 out? Take a look as you go through these departments and really think and look back historically over the last, you know, 4 years, 5 years, where that money's been spent. I will tell you this, primarily, we exist to deliver services, right? That's what we do. We deliver services. We do that through people. So when you look at the vast majority of what it costs us to deliver those services by any given department's budget, it's manpower, it's personnel. It's the cost of wages, salaries, benefits. We did it a few years back, and it was, depending on the department, like 72% was just strictly the personnel costs, up to like 94% strictly personnel costs. When you look at what we do as a government, it's not buying cheaper supplies. Our supplies are people, right? And so it's that balancing act. And there's no doubt, like you saw tonight, we were behind in our pay on these firefighters since we took over from the joint operations. We were behind, and we were way behind. We've made significant progress. Are we there yet? Are they compensated where they should be? I think we still have room. But again, you're trying to get there within reason and grow within in the financial constraints. So the biggest challenges, to answer your question, is really like you got a set amount of dollars. We can't raise the price. We can't, you know, adjust our costs that much, other than by you can reallocate. You could cut some police officers, close dispatch, and I mean, you know what I'm saying? But finance runs with 4 people. If you take one person out of finance, can I run with 3 people? Well, I did for a long time, but that gets, you know, can we just go with one cashier? Can we, you know, your DPW doesn't matter, your water sewer doesn't matter because they're completely separate. We have to run them separate. Your building department doesn't matter. We run that separate because it has to be treated almost like an enterprise fund. You know, it's your governmental funds, not your business funds, finding the money and competing for those dollars. But that's driven by you guys. Where does it need to go? Where do you got to spend? That's the challenge.
Well, even, you know, just maintaining is expensive. I think we discussed that at the budget presentation a couple weeks ago, that we're facing a 30% increase in healthcare. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's just slightly over 30% for 2026.
Right. So it is very competitive. The cost recovery that Chief Gent talked about, we've tried that in the past. We can look up what that looked like, I believe, when we tried cost recovery. I think it goes back a little ways. But cost recovery. I'm seeing that people can't hear me, but we have tried the cost recovery in the past, so we can look and see what kind of net results that had, and then look at what some other communities are doing in terms of that.
I think Chief Gent has some expertise in there from Dearborn on
Okay.
cost recovery. And
Sure, I'm sure he does.
So, how much will that offset? I don't know. What's the likelihood that you're going to collect? I don't know. I mean, that's
Right.
more.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't, and I know I saw one of the emails exchanged that, this seems like, I think Chief Gent was saying this seems like a competitive process with regard to the agenda, to the budgeting. And it's a matter of, every department probably asks for more money, I would guess, each year, right? I mean, we've got Chief Rennie, and not to put him on the spot, but I'm sure his department has a number of things that they ask for that we had to say no to. So it isn't like we're saying yes to everybody. We're saying no to a lot of different departments that would like additional. In fact, it's in the budget. I mean, you can see what they requested and what we're looking at allocating. So that budget is online for anybody that wants to see it too. So the proposed budget. So anybody wants to go through that budget and see what's being proposed by the various departments, and you'll be able to see those dollar amounts. Mr. Brown?
One thing that you brought up that I agree with is regarding the millage process. I think it's great that you were the person that said, hey, we should go to the taxpayers and ask them for this so we have more full-time staff. So I'd like to find a way that we can kind of make you the center of this millage push.
I'd rather not do that.
I need you to. You've already signed yourself up. But, I mean that because you have political capital in the community. Genuinely, you do. I mean, look, a lot of these people are here for you. So if we can put you in the forefront of saying, hey, this is important for us. Yes, to Joel's point, this will cost, but it's also something that we need to happen. And have our chief doing that, I think, will help us, make this more politically expedient for us to get something passed. So,
And I think it's, what is it, 2.5 mils? Is it 2 mils? That's
Right.
something that the board and administration can figure out, what is that magic number? What is the actual number that we can?
What room we have with existing millages too. Ms. Hugo?
I think this is my last question, and this is for you. Thank you for your presentation. I'm looking forward to getting a copy of that. But Friday night, my husband and I were watching the news, and we saw that Fire Station 1 in Flint Township closed due to lack of personnel. So I'm like, the Google Queen, I'm going to look it up and see how many firefighters they have. So I went to LARA, the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, the Fire Service Directory, and it says that Flint has 10 full-time firefighters, Flint Township has 10 full-time firefighters and 17 part-time firefighters. Now, if we're not able to find the funding, to get the funding for staffing, like what do operations look like moving forward?
It would just be status quo. It would be, it'd continue, but it would be uneven crew sizes. It would be delays on interior operations until other crews arrive there, kind of like I said in my presentation, until the funding supports, those phased full-timers coming in. We wouldn't have that 2 in, 2 out. We'd just be waiting for a secondary crew to arrive. And we wouldn't be able to continue the extra manpower on the shifts that I have going in right there because I didn't account for these in my budget for next year.
Thank you.
My conversation actually with the Flint Township Supervisor, I believe they have that many full-time, but they also, I'm not sure they use part-time. I think they only use paid on-call or basically on-call firefighters for filling any gaps, I believe. But I could be wrong, but we can verify that if we needed to.
And I don't know how accurate these numbers or where they get them from because according to Lara, we have 7 full-time firefighters.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this was at that time that they published it, but.
I think they include the chief and deputy chief in with that number.
Okay.
Mr. Yancho?
That kind of begs the question, does the chief and deputy chief or fire marshal, do they ever go out on a fire call?
The fire marshal responds when he's on shift, and acts as an officer sometimes when we don't have an officer at Station 1. And myself and the deputy chief do respond to 2 calls. A more severe call during the week when we're out here on shift, and we respond on weekends and nights.
Is the training for a part-time firefighters equal to the training for a full-time firefighter?
It's exactly the same. There's no difference.
So if we had 12 more part-time firefighters, wouldn't that increase the efficiency of allocating firefighters to a station?
It would increase the availability for shifts. It would increase the ability for them to fill shifts.
Are you familiar with the model that Troy uses for firefighting?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's incredibly inefficient.
Okay.
And they have 180 volunteer firefighters, and the reliability of that system is, I don't even know how they, and this is my opinion. I don't want to speak to Troy, but I don't know how they keep that system up and running. To have that
So
amount.
no full-time, or?
I think they have 12 full-time firefighters right now, with a chief and a fire marshal. But I don't know how they sustain that with 180 volunteer firefighters, and the amount of gear and training and stuff to account for 180 volunteer firefighters is just, it's crazy.
Mr. Yancho?
So I wanted to make a clarification. We have full-time firefighters and paid part-time firefighters and part-time firefighters that are not required to work any shifts. Is that's something?
All of our part-time firefighters are required to work 2 shifts a month.
No, I mean in the diaspora.
Oh.
So there's volunteers, there's part-time that are paid for calls, and then there are part-time paid on calls that work shifts and then are paid, and that's what we have for our part-timers, right?
Correct. You have volunteer firefighters, paid on-call firefighters, part-time firefighters, and then full-time firefighters.
And there's probably combinations of all those.
Correct.
Across the state.
Correct.
I think so.
You have firefighters that are working part-time at one fire department, volunteering at another fire department, paid on-call at another fire department, and running the gamut throughout the state.
Mr. Brown?
So with the fact that, let's just round, that 15 equates to 2. So let's call that 8, just to round up. We have 12 openings now. How would you feel operationally if we said, okay, we're going to take the 8 that we have, allocate 1 full-time firefighter, right? Because that's would be within our budget, and then hire, the remaining as part-time. How would that help your operations?
Well, the problem we're having right now is hiring part-time firefighters. We cannot find enough part-time firefighters to fill what we need. We've had the posting out for, since I've been chief, I've hired 8 part-time firefighters since I've been chief. Right now we have 5 that are waiting to be interviewed, and we may only hire 1 out of the 5 that we feel are going to be, that are not only are going to be qualified to hire, but are going to fit with our culture. They interview with myself and the deputy chief and a panel of the fire marshal and a couple of our part-time firefighters that sit on the interview board. And if we don't feel that they're going to be a good fit in our system and in our culture, we're just not going to hire them. It's just not worth it. And we're not going to hire them.
Ms. Hugo?
This really is my last question. Sorry, and I'm usually the little church mouse that sits here, but having my home catch on fire has always been the biggest fear that I've had. And it's very important to me to make sure that the residents, have what we need to be able to help them with the police, with the fire, with the Department of Public Works, with all of the departments. But I recently suggested we do an independent audit because there are rumors on Facebook. There are people saying all different kinds of things regarding staffing. I would like to request that we do an independent audit so we can tell the public, we can tell the department what the actual answer is. Are we meeting those requirements? Are we not? So I would like to request that.
The only one I've seen is the one that was the joint one done with the city fire department. I think that was done in 2019. That's the only study that I've seen.
I think it's something we can discuss when we have our work session. Mr. White?
What is, the part-time firefighters have to work 2 shifts per month, correct?
Correct.
What do most of them actually work per month?
The average part-time firefighter works about 700 to 800 hours per year.
So how many shifts per month is that?
That's usually about, to do the average, it's usually about 10 shifts a month.
So 10 shifts a month.
Correct.
So that'd be if we were to hire more, could we use that as sort of a baseline as to how much we would sort of expect new hires to, or could we increase the minimum required shifts per month? It seems like we have room to work with in this category.
That's something that would have to be bargained with the part-time union.
And those part-timers are capped at 1,560 hours per year they can't exceed.
And we just had we had some part-timers that were bumping up against that cap, and they're only going to be able to work 2 or 3 shifts in December because they're bumping up up against that 1,560 hours.
Mr. Yancho?
Yes, I'm aware that the Genesee Career Institute has a firefighter training program. Are they training quality people to come through that program, and how many of those might look for jobs in the firefighting?
I can't speak to that. I don't know anything about that. I know some of our full-time firefighters and part-time firefighters are very interested in running a fire academy once we get the new facility opened at our new headquarters. They're interested in starting our own, kind of regional training center there, running a fire academy out of there, and we'll be able to control that outcome a lot better.
Okay. Well, before we leave tonight, let's schedule a work session or put some dates out there that we can look at to sit down and go through the numbers. If you're going to send us the presentation so we can look at those numbers and have our finance department look at them as well.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
Okay. And you send us, I saw the email, like I said, with the.
Yeah, I'll send it as soon as I get in tomorrow.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Let's see.
Thank you, Chief.
Item 8A, Mr. Supervisor, resolution number 2531.
Correct. So at this point, we have the board, I'm sorry?
Want to let some people go?
We're going to be very brief here. I'd rather just continue on. Item 8A, the board will consider a motion to approve Resolution 25-31 for the Industrial Facilities Tax Exemption Application for Grand Blanc Industrial Holdings, LLC. I just wanted to congratulate again Danielle for her extraordinary achievement of, I call it level 4, but tax assessing, which there's very few in the state, and we're glad to have you. But one of the things I just want to bring up that I talked to a group of people and I asked them, what do you think that building pays that's at the front of Enterprise Park? What do you think that building pays per year in property taxes? And, I heard $20,000, $30,000, $240,000 is what that building pays. So when we look at, doing an IFT, what have you, we're getting quite a bit of money, and since it's in a DDA area, we capture that entire amount. But so, anyways, these businesses are paying a substantial amount even when we give them a break.
Yes, they are. Yes.
So go ahead, Ms. Harrington.
Okay. An industrial facilities exemption is also known as an IFT. I know you guys are a little bit familiar with it if you've done a couple before. That provides a tax incentive for manufacturers to enable renovations or expansions of aging facilities and assist in the building of new facilities. An IFT entitles the facility to 50% exemption from participating millages levied.
Danielle, can you move the microphone closer to you?
Sorry.
Thank you.
It provides a 50% exemption from participating millage levies for ad valorem, real and/or personal property taxes for a term of up to 1 to 12 years. Once the local unit approves the IFT, the request is then sent to the State Tax Commission for final approval. An industrial development district must be created prior to initiating the project. This district was created in May of 2024, referenced as the IDD number 15-2. All mailing and posting requirements for the IFT have been met by the township. Again, we held the public hearing earlier, which is one of the requirements. Typically, we do have a representative from the business that comes and speaks, but Mr. Hadel had a conflict tonight, so he was unable to be here. I do have just a brief statement on the company that he sent for me to read on his behalf. Grand Blanc Industrial Holdings is part of a family office held by the Hadel family. It currently has more than 20 companies within its portfolio of companies. Two of the larger entities, Global Technology and Transpac, will ultimately be housed at this new facility. For nearly 40 years, Global Technology has developed aluminum wheels and suspension parts as an engineering and sales organization for the auto industry. Transpac is a warehouse and distribution business with a global reach handling more than 40 million parts per year. In early 2026, their goal is both companies are anticipated to relocate to their headquarters at this site with over 100 employees across the businesses. And that is it. And he is requesting a 6-year IFT.
Is a motion in order, Mr. Supervisor?
I have a question.
I have a question.
According to our packet, there's 140 jobs coming.
With the companies relocating to that headquarters, so he has existing employees that will be relocating here, potentially with some new positions as
Do you know
well.
where they're coming from? I mean,
I do not.
Waterford or another state?
I do
Mr.
not.
Limita probably has that answer.
There's quite a few that would come from Sterling Heights, but he has a variety of different warehouses that he's operating out of that he's going to consolidate. And I think another key point is, yeah, they pay $240,000 in tax every year. That doesn't change. This isn't changing this. This is about the new construction just on the office. So it's really the tax abatement is only going to be on the build out of the office space inside of that building. It doesn't impact, he'll still be paying the $240,000.
Right.
But we'll probably have an influx of new citizens to Grand Blanc.
Yeah, he's
Housing.
total, he had 189 employees that he wants to house out of this location.
That sounds like substantial number of jobs.
Well, and temporarily, he's using it also. I know Miller Industries is doing some work, I believe, within that building. So it's being utilized even now with employees coming. I think everybody's familiar with Miller Industries and Thompson Road. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Fike and then Mr. White.
Where is this?
Off of Baldwin Road, off Enterprise Way, just
First building you see.
Oh.
When you go down
I got you.
Enterprise Park.
where.
Mr. White?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say 6 years? I couldn't quite.
Yes, he's
Six.
requesting a 6-year.
I'm ready.
Okay, a motion is in order.
I will make that motion on item 8A, resolution number 2531.
Is there support? Okay, support by Mr. Yancho.
Motion by Robertson, supported by Yancho. Treasurer Yancho.
Yes.
Trustee Hugo.
Yes.
Trustee White. Trustee Fike.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Supervisor Bennett.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
7-0, motion passes.
Thank you. And we are going to table the next item when we set our agenda. We'll be moving that to our next meeting, item B. Future agenda items, we have a deadline for our budget coming up in December, so I would gather that our next meeting in terms of future agenda items, we're going to need to focus on the budget. So if we can get our work session in with Chief Gent with regard to fire, there's a number of other departments that we need to look at as well, a little bit closer probably, but the clock is ticking towards the deadline of us needing to get that approved. And so I don't think future agenda items, anything's going to change there other than we need to look at the budget. As far as board reports, anybody have anything to report? No. Clerk Robertson, how did the election go?
Everything went off without a hitch.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Limita?
Nothing.
Mr. Chubb?
Nothing, thank you.
I did want to say something, sorry. I just wanted to thank the township. I went on I went to a conference in Kalamazoo with Mr. Joyner and Mr. Smith, as well as Mr. Bush from the Planning Commission. There's so much that I need to learn about the Planning Commission, and I was very grateful to be able to attend this, so thank you.
So just a couple of quick things. 911, I had a conflict with another township meeting, so in my absence, Treasurer Yancho and Clerk Robertson attended a meeting this past week that the county had spent $250,000 on an EMS study. And so the results of that was discussed at length as far as what came of it. So we'll probably hear some updates from Clerk Robertson and Treasurer Yancho in an upcoming meeting on what that study revealed. One good piece of news is the bridge on Center Road opened this week. The number of emails, what have you, that we received regarding that closure was going to be crazy. Part of the problem that, it's a federal project, and there are bridges in Genesee County that are closed permanently just because they don't have the money to repair them. I hear from other supervisors that, that's not good. And so we're very pleased that they were able to fix it, but it took a while to do that. Also, the Victim Compensation Fund that Elga Credit Union is hosting, and Mott Foundation and Community Foundation of Greater Flint are assisting with, is still taking contributions. We are still receiving contributions. The chief, myself, and one of the bishops from the LDS meet, we've been meeting about weekly, and it's really heartbreaking to actually look at those applications with people that, have lost their guitars, lost cell phones, what have you, in the fire. But we've been able to pay funeral expenses, been able to pay for the requests that are coming in. So I think we're going to meet in the next few days again with another batch of applications, so that money is being put to good use. So with that,
Motion to
yes.
adjourn in order, Mr.
Yes, please.
And I will make that motion.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:45 PM.